Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first inaugural NFT Summit. My name is Michael Gord. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of the GDA group of companies, and I'm very excited to introduce the event today. We have an awesome group of speakers that go through just about the all aspects of the NFT ecosystem, which has developed a huge amount over the past few years. I remember when CryptoKitties was launched at ETH Waterloo in 2017 and clogged the Ethereum blockchain. And then since then, we've seen NFTs by famous musicians, famous athletes. We've seen art gallery events around the world starting to get involved in NFTs. We've seen people like Gary Vee introduce NFTs for tickets. We've seen some NFTs going for up to $69 million. And really, this is still the tip of the iceberg in terms of where we are going in the future. And the people that are speaking at this summit are some of the builders and the creators of this new marketplace. So we're going to start with a keynote about how NFTs are changing money and culture. We go through the capital markets perspective, and we talk about how NFTs are interesting and relevant from an investment perspective, and how they can perhaps generate cash flows, how we can start to value them, and how they should be considered in an investor's portfolio in perhaps the same capacity as traditional real estate or traditional art or other traditional non-fungible assets, cars, watches, etc. We talk about how brands are making an impact through NFTs with organizations like Dole, which was the first Fortune 1000 company to come into the NFT marketplace and do an NFT solely focused on taking a bite out of hunger and raising funds to give back through NFTs. We hear from some of the leading marketplaces on how the trends and opportunities are changing when it comes to the buying, selling, and trading of NFTs. We talk about DeFi and NFTs and how we are building or how the industry, the ecosystem is building a DeFi layer on top of NFTs so that they can be collateralized, so they can be lent against, so they can be so there can be yield farming with NFTs and other really exciting use cases to bring DeFi and NFTs together. Talk about creator coins and how we're democratizing content and essentially recreating the Patreons in the world to be unlocked with various tiers of NFTs. We talk about purposeful NFTs and how we're transforming the entertainment and music industry, which really feels like in the Erica, you are in the right place. We're going to be starting with your keynote in a few minutes. But yeah, how NFTs are transforming the entertainment and music industry, which kind of sounds and feels a little bit like when when music first started to be put on the internet, and there was the beginning of iTunes and the beginning of YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, and all of the networks that reinvented how music was done and put on the internet. And then we have tokenizing real estate, where we hear from traditional real estate developers and how they are considering integrating NFTs into real estate, which is an example of a non-fungible asset in the real world. We talk about how NFTs are impacting sports and culture with some gentlemen and all gentlemen who have who are working with professional sports teams. And finally, there's a fireside chat on the future of NFTs and where we see all of that going. On the second day, we have a keynote from Joel Dietz, who's one of the earliest adopters of digital assets in the world and is also the founder of MetaMask and is building a next iteration of MetaMask to include NFTs as a core use case. He's talking about the best NFT concepts and the reality of where we're at today. We hear from some next generation protocols and how new protocols aside from Ethereum are considering NFTs, and basically all protocols are looking to have NFT functionality now that the marketplace is becoming a lot more mainstream. We hear from artists who are pushing the boundaries with NFTs, and we've really just scratched the surface in terms of with physical art, there's an infinite number of art that can be created. But now with NFTs, we can take each layer of paintings or each piece of a painting and put it on the blockchain and have it move in various ways. So the amount that artists can now bring unique content to life through NFTs is super exciting. We hear about how NFTs are impacting the gaming and esports market and how just about every in-game asset will become an on-chain asset through NFTs that will be tradable and usable across various games. I'm sure that this panel will also include the difference between the traditional NFTs and the, I think, ERC 11777 that are not unique assets, but still very important for the discussion. We talk about digital fashion and how some of the biggest fashion brands are starting to get involved in NFTs to create iconic designs for their or standard designs for their clothes in metaverses, which is the next topic where we bring some of the people that are creating entirely new worlds that are built on top of NFTs. And finally, we hear about the current and the future regulatory landscape and how the regulators, governments, and securities agencies are thinking about NFTs. And finally, we have a keynote from a group from Europe that are talking about how NFTs are unveiling the power in the creator economy and how NFTs are going to start to be used by social networks to accelerate their growth and to provide incentive and value to the creators who are building these networks. So with that said, just at the end of this presentation, and I'm excited to welcome Erikan Obotetukudo, who is going to be doing a keynote. She's the president of the Crypto for Black Economic Empowerment, and she's going to be speaking about how NFTs and culture are changing money forever. I'm very excited to introduce Erica and to hear her unique perspective on the future of NFTs.
All right. Hey, everybody. Can you all hear me? We good? Thumbs up if you can hear me, Michael. Yeah. All right. Hey, everyone. It is so nice to be here. Thank you so much to the NFT Summit fam and GDA Capital for inviting me, for having me. I'm currently chatting with you all from Mexico. It's been really cool to be out here and just take a brief moment to retreat from life in the US for me. And so today I'm really excited to hopefully share with you all some aspects of NFTs that maybe you've thought about And in some cases, maybe you haven't. But first and foremost, I'll happily introduce myself and kind of how I came into the crypto world, which is not quite traditional or official. So I am Erikan, and I came up in Southern California, specifically Rancho Cucamonga. And if we have any pop culture fans out here, and you all know of the movie Friday, if you caught Next Friday, let me know in the chat if you're really about the culture, if you really knew about the Friday series. But in Next Friday, homies from the hood moved to the suburbs in Rancho Cucamonga, and that's where I'm from. So it was so amazing coming up to see where I'm from be represented on the big screen and become such a pop cultural like legacy body of work, and follow at that same time of being, you know, in the 90s, coming up and appreciating pop culture as it was also reflecting where I came from. I'm also a child of a very, very proud and amazing, vibrant Nigerian community. So my family's from Nigeria, both parents, but I grew up in the US. So at the same time that I'm seeing myself and my community reflected on the big screen with Ice Cube and Mike Epps and all the great people, I'm also in a household where every single month we're sending money back to Africa, back to Nigeria. And I don't know if you all are familiar with Western Union or if you're familiar with MoneyGram, but essentially the millions of immigrants all over the planet have a mandate of their community back home to, when you get to the promised land or when you get to your US or your UK, you better send money back. And so I grew up in a household where sending money back was super imperative, but also fraught. So my family oftentimes sent a lot of money back to Nigeria, but a lot of the money would get lost. So my family, let's say, would send $1,000 a month back to Nigeria, and then it would poof and disappear. So family members back in Nigeria are like, Kiloshe, why didn't you send the money? You didn't send the money. And then we're over here like, no, we sent the money through Western Union. So coming up at an early age, I had a very interesting relationship with money, particularly around the challenges to trace it effectively, particularly around the inability for certain middlemen, AKA Western Union, to act in good faith and good practice to protect the money of, you know, hardworking immigrants all over the world who are trying to just send money back to their home countries and frankly invest in their home countries. And if you all aren't familiar, the remittance market is a nearly $1 trillion market. I think it's about $689 billion every single year. Immigrants who leave their countries to other host countries end up sending almost $1 trillion back to their home countries, which frankly outsizes the GDP of many nations. And so my relationship with crypto actually is inspired by that instance because of the fact that I knew something needed to happen where we can trace money more effectively, where we could have greater accountability and remove those middlemen. My family spent years, decades probably, sending money through Western Union and a lot of it getting lost. So my enthusiasm for today and to speak and connect with all of you is to really think about how is this new world changing our relationship with money, changing money itself, and how is culture itself really being the catalyst. And connecting that experience for me coming up of seeing my hometown be represented on the big screen in such a pop cultural moment, but also recognizing that something was happening in my own culture where money was disappearing. It led to, 2017 and specifically 2020, when I realized, wow, crypto and blockchain is that opportunity to finally trace money and make sure end to end it's getting to the right places that it should, so that families can sustain sustain themselves across continents and oceans. But at the same time, the way that gets people, the thing that gets people there is going to actually be culture. And as we've seen just with NFTs, particularly this year, it is culture that is, and art in this case, or music or film that is bringing people into, or memes, which is also media and culture, that is bringing people into the crypto economy. And why is that great and important? Frankly, I really want to challenge you all. Actually, come on a journey with me. So wherever you are right now, listening and watching, I want you to come with me to Africa, okay? I am a very, very, very proud African, and I am so excited to share with you how money in particular is changing across emerging markets and emerging communities. So as I just mentioned, I'm from Nigeria. Remittances were an issue. Tracing money, being able to track money was an issue. But also, if you're coming from a country where your currency is not super stable, crypto and NFTs are super important for you to actually acquire wealth in ways that you could have never done so before. So let me tell you another story. So 2015, I had the guts to leave my life in the United States, completely walk away from it, and move to Nigeria. I had lived in Nigeria, but I had never lived in Lagos, which is the biggest city in all of Africa. And so, it was an amazing time. It felt like a revolution. This was the beginning of what we're now seeing today as an amazing tech boom that's happening out of Nigeria. And this was really a special cusp, a revolutionary period that I was so glad to be a part of. But some things happened. Essentially, a new president came in and cracked down on corruption, and it actually sent the entire economy into a spiral, recession almost instantly and immediately. And this might sound a little bit gangster-like, but here we are. I actually had $15,000 worth of local currency, $15,000 of local currency in a backpack, and I was moving from bank to bank to bank to bank to try and get them to change the local currency, which is called Naira, into dollars, and nobody would take the money. Because at this point, we were in a recession and our local currency was devaluing so much rapidly every single day that despite the fact that I had a money bag and $15,000 to convert to USD, they didn't care, because guess what? USD, the US dollar, was like our gold. It became our gold almost overnight. We had a shortage of the dollar, and the central bank, the Central Reserve, said we will not move any US dollar out of this country because we need it to sustain ourselves in this recession. So fundamentally, this experience really let me know at another level the impact of crypto, obviously, in this market where you have a currency that is completely devaluing every single day and super reliant on another, obviously, fiat currency, and there needing to be an intermediary. So all of these things, all of these experiences really made me super invigorated and committed to scaling crypto and blockchain across the planet. Like, I literally was just like, if we can get as many people in emerging communities across the US and around the world, and emerging markets hip to crypto and blockchain, which frankly, I'm sure many people on the call right now know, most emerging markets and most populations across the world are actually some of the greatest adopters of true utility use of crypto and blockchain, because beyond the art and all the cool stuff that we're seeing with NFTs, this is life or death. And so all that to say, I was incredibly inspired by these life events and these life moments that showed me something needed to change about money. And there needed to be a cultural understanding with money in order for money to actually be relatable and useful to people across the planet. So fast forward a little bit later, and in 2020, I connected with a good friend of mine from college named Kai. He actually happens to be the head of cryptocurrency at Visa. And we were riffing and rapping, and we were talking about COVID and how nuts and gnarly it is. But essentially, we decided that he and several other of his buds were like, we need to get together and create a crypto community of Black people, initially across the United States. But I said, hey, let's do it across the entire world. And within just 2 months, we were able to galvanize Black people from literally across the planet, 20 countries, everybody, 6 continents, and of people who are building crypto startups, building meaningful aspects of various different types of blockchains, and of course, crypto artists. And together we showed up in this community and did something more than just what I think a lot of folks do when they get in a group chat. What we ended up doing was becoming our own economy. And what do I mean by becoming our own economy? Well, I'm sure many of you are probably collectors of some sort of NFT, whether it's Top Shot or somebody's great artwork, or maybe you've got into music NFT collecting. But either way, that one asset actually creates its own economy. And in many ways, that is the future of money, whereby people are drawn to culture. People are drawn to the things that they love, whether it's sports or music or art or real estate or identity, in various ways that NFTs will be useful now and into the future. But on top of that, it is the culture that is drawing them to that asset is actually what is enabling them to exist as a collective economy. And that is what is most revolutionary around the world, because frankly, outside of Euro-American cultures, many people across the world are actually very collective and very communal, where decisions, investing, resources, eating, culture is all shared in community and very much not done alone. So what gets me so excited about this community that we've created is we were able to exist as an economy amongst ourselves, whereby people were, of course, getting jobs. Folks were now becoming CEOs of new amazing companies that are backed by Andreessen Horowitz and Polychain and so many other amazing firms. And it was clearest to me in particular that not only are we creating our own economy, but the timing of it is actually uncanny, because ladies and gentlemen, all 182 of you, I want to speak to your soul in this moment in time. Today, actually yesterday and today, mark the 100-year anniversary of the Tulsa Massacre. If you're not familiar with that, I'll just briefly give you some context. The Tulsa Massacre was one of the most horrific riots and massacres in the United States history, but essentially it was a bombing of Black Wall Street in the United States in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921. So essentially May 31st through June 1st, white haters bombed a Black community that was thriving so much economically that it was actually called Black Wall Street. And there are various reasons why the escalation and the massacre happened, but actually that Black Wall Street 100 years later, almost on the dot, actually is existing here today. And one example of that is crypto for Black economic empowerment. In many ways, as a community driven by culture, connected by culture, excited by the economic opportunities that we can share with each other, have become our own economy. And by doing so, we actually now show up as a Black community across 20 countries and 6 continents that are very much like Black Wall Street that was bombed 100 years ago. But in some cases, you can call us the crypto for Black Wall Street, or the digital Black Wall Street. All that to say, we're really excited. I'm particularly really excited about how NFTs create economies that are drawn and attractive to people based on culture. And I'm especially excited about what it means for Africa. So earlier I asked you all to come to Africa with me. So I'm gonna ask you all to come back to Africa with me. So here are a few reasons why NFTs are actually a really big deal for markets like Africa, well beyond what we're seeing in the United States with CryptoKitties, CryptoPunks, and Top Shop. So generally in Africa, or in many cultures across Africa, as I said earlier, we're a communal group of people. So our resources are oftentimes shared in community with one another. So NFTs are amazing because at the same time, we're actually some of the biggest producers of culture around the world. So some of you may know of artists like Burna Boy or Wizkid or Tiwa Savage. Burna Boy is one of the top 3 biggest artists on the planet right now, next to BTS out of South Korea and Bad Bunny from Puerto Rico. So Burna Boy as a musician, as a beacon for African culture, and as an ambassador for all of us proud Africans, him creating NFTs, him creating content that represents, the existing relationship he has with his fans, actually transforms what it means to be not only a fan of Burna Boy, but in many ways an African. Because if you find yourself patronizing Burna Boy, regardless of your ethnic background, but specifically if you're an African, you now actually are an investor in the success of one of the biggest artists out of Africa. And what does that then mean? As this very artist continues to escalate and take over the world, which he is, you now have the opportunity to claim being an owner in not only his success, but the future of the African continent. And that is an experience that, with currency up and fluctuations, recessions, oil shortages, and all the sort of stress that sometimes comes with African economies, now you have a real asset that you can be a part of, that you can participate in, that's fun and culturally dynamic, but literally can change the way you show up in the global economy. By you having purchased a Burna Boy NFT for, say, $10 equivalent, or to your local currency, or of course, whatever sort of crypto you're using to purchase that NFT. Or perhaps if you kind of throw it all in and put in, say, $1,000 worth, you now have a digital asset that you didn't have to slave over, but that likely with the success of Burna Boy over time is going to grow in value. And that's an experience and an opportunity to engage in economics and money and wealth creation, in shared economics and group economics that has never existed before. I mean, we're seeing Axie Infinity doing amazing things in the Philippines because there's an opportunity now for people to continue to engage with culture, which is essentially gaming, but earn money at the same time, which is money that they would not have been able to earn in their currently struggling economy post-COVID. But with playing games and enjoying and delighting and being addicted to their phones, just like everybody else is, they can actually earn income. And this is the reason why NFTs and crypto in general, mixed with culture, which we include gaming and music and fashion and art and so many other things, is what is changing money. Now you all and so many people across the planet get to be investors and owners off rip, meaning folks who would have otherwise been a consumer, a listener, or a fan get to engage in ownership in ways that they never could have before. And that can not only bring them into the crypto ecosystem, but give them leverage, even in the DeFi space, to start engaging with money in ways that are a lot more advantageous for them and frankly go longer for them in their local economy. So not only is our NFTs really meaningful for these emerging markets and emerging communities that I'm talking about for reasons of wealth creation, the ability to tap into liquidity pools based on leveraging their NFT collection and all these other things, but simply it's actually a reflection of the culture that I'm saying is the main drawer to people in crypto. So in our community, my community in Nigeria, again, we're communal people. So actually the very fact that you can be, one of one or one of 1,000 people engaging in your favorite artists or your favorite real estate or your favorite whatever thing that's attached to an NFT, you're now engaged in a community. So it's as if crypto is reminding us of our tribal instincts and our collective instincts to gather and pool our monies together for the long-term gain of our own ability to build wealth. And again, these are ways that NFTs are changing money and have astronomical impact across emerging communities and populations where these opportunities have not existed before. So today, everybody, I really want us to think about not only all the cool and fun things like with fashion and art and all the great things that are very pop cultural and trendy, but I really want you to know that you are a part of a revolution. You are literally a part of transforming the way money shows up in our minds and in our lives across this planet. And you are also someone who I hope is enthusiastic about creating platforms, investing in platforms, encouraging others to participate in the momentum that's happening with NFTs driven by culture, because at the end of the day, it actually enables more people to be economically strong and fruitful long term. So that is just a glimpse, particularly in an African case, of how transformative NFTs are. But I want to add one more thing that isn't often talked about in the United States, because in many cases in the United States, our currency is generally the de facto currency across the world and not as volatile. But in emerging markets, NFTs actually have the ability to change the global perception of certain people and economies around the world. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take Black Panther. Hopefully we have some Black Panther fans. R.I.P. Chadwick. We love you, T'Challa forever, Wakanda forever, all the good things. Essentially, in July 2022, Black Panther 2 will be dropped. And Black Panther 2 will undoubtedly be a $2 billion plus global phenomenon. You can mark my words on that. $2 billion plus. That is what I'm saying. I will bet my money on it. Come get me if you want to bet on this one. All that to say, if Marvel or Disney were to drop NFTs, which I think that they should, this actually gives people the opportunity to invest in the image and the transformation and the Afrofuturism and the technology and the transformed representation of Africa in ways that they never could have before. So with content that is driven by pop culture, people from all over the world can actually invest in a vision for Africa that doesn't exist today, but that is very much in the works, and almost a part of a collective aspiration for a realized Africa and a better Africa that is a reflection of what we see in the movie. And again, this is an example of how swaths of people get to participate in collective economics to enable all participants to be owners and investors in a reality and a future that best reflects who they truly are in representation. So NFTs actually become very transformative in emerging communities and emerging markets because it allows our collective investment power to transform the way the world perceives us. And as an African kid who grew up in a time when it was not cool to be African, it's actually imperative for myself, my community, to have economic empowerment by changed perceptions around the world about what my value is. And NFTs are so important because people who have historically been devalued actually get a chance to say, no, this is actually my value. This is how many people will pay for my creative genius, for my intelligence, for my assets, for my real estate, for my longevity, and miss me with anything else because I don't need to rep with you middlemen. I'm gonna rock with my community, my first 100 fans, my first 1,000 fans, and we're about to get these next 100 years. So I say all that to say, to energize you for the NFT Summit and to remind you that this right now is a moment of building legacy. This is a moment right now of stepping into the next 100 years. This is a moment right now of having the audacity to do something that does not exist today and having 100 people or 10 people or 1 or 1,000 to ride with you. So if you are a person who's ambitious and has a full imagination of the world, I salute you. This is your time. Run with it. And if you want to get in touch with me, find me on the internets. I'm at Hey Erikan on Twitter and Instagram. And if you are interested in backing and in participating in crypto for Black economic empowerment, particularly in contributing to a fund that I'm currently raising, please get in touch with me through the CBE website, and I'll share my details following. But I just wanted to say thank you first and foremost for giving me the platform to share this amazing opportunity that is now. And I hope that today has expanded your perception of how NFTs and culture and money are changing forever and how you are a revolutionary for participating.